Welcome into this week's edition of the Co-Lin Coaches Show. It's our final edition of the 2025 year and final edition of our fall semester of the academic year as well, too. Joining me first, as always, is our head women's basketball coach, Dr. Britta Belanger. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And, Coach, obviously, since the last time we talked to you, it's been a couple of weeks. You've played a couple of games. You've gone 1-1 in those. A win over South Ark on the road, 76-47. Dropped a tough one against LSU Eunice last week on the road, 73-59. Let's talk about that win at South Ark first and your thoughts on being able to get on a bus, go for a long way, and then be able to get that win.
Yeah, I have to go back in the memory bank to remember this one. It seems like it's been an eternity since we played this game, and it really wasn't that long ago. It was the week before Thanksgiving. Really proud of this win. It is a long drive. It's 4 hours to El Dorado, Arkansas. Not to mention we had played in a tournament at Southwest on Monday and Tuesday, so we had short prep. We only had 1 day's rest, and we were able to go up there on a long road trip and pull out a win against a much improved South Arkansas team. You guys saw us play them here at home, and they were not very strong, and they were much improved in their gym. They shot it a lot better. They had some players back. They had some injuries, and so they were much improved. But I was really proud of this win. It's a really good way to close out a week. You know, we had won 2 really strong games at Southwest, and then we were able to go 3-0 that week before we went on the holiday break, and that was a nice way to end kind of the first part of our season.
And excuse me, we talk about it all the time. You know, winning basketball is winning quarters, and you won 3 out of 4. The first couple of them you won very big. Mm-hmm. You doubled them up in the first quarter, 18-9. You outscored them in the second, 23-3. And when you hold a team to just 12 points and a half, and only single digits in both halves, you like your odds. You're up 41-12 at halftime. You outscored them 22-17 in the third. They outscored you in the fourth, 18-13. But at that point, the lead was so big they weren't going to overcome it. But again, when you win 3 out of the 4 quarters, that's winning basketball.
Yeah, it is, and it's nice to be able to come out early and kind of step on that gas and get a big lead. I was a little disappointed in the second half because I do feel like we relaxed, but it's very difficult to get your kids to play as hard as you can and with a sense of urgency when you're up 20 or 30 points in a game. And so that was a little disappointing that we didn't win all 4 quarters in a game that I felt like we should have won all 4 quarters. The great thing about this game is, too, we were able to give everybody playing time, everybody minutes. Lots of people who don't necessarily get to play got some experience, and we need that because we need to get as much experience as we can. We've only got 10 players, so if people go out with injuries and things like that, we're going to need everybody on our bench to have experience.
And you look at that, and you look at the scoring lines. Your leading scorer for this one actually came off the bench. He gave you a huge spark. It was Amari Barnes. AB had 15 points, 4 rebounds. Another huge spark off the bench for you was Zaria Hatton with 10 and 5. 3 of your 5 starters were in double digits. Maddie Mitchell led the starting lineup. She had 13 points, 6 assists, 6 steals, a really great game for Maddie. 12 points each for Akila Hobson and Cam Pruitt. Cam barely missed a double-double. She had 12 and 9 in this one, and that kind of racked up a week for Cam where, she would go on during Thanksgiving. She got Conference Player of the Week and then turned around and got National Player of the Week, and you and I talked about it. That National Player of the Week honor is a very rare thing for our conference just because of we play in the D1. We're going up against a lot of schools from across the nation. You and I were sitting there talking, we named some names, and we were having to go way back in the annals of history for the MAC conference, even talking about names like Alexis Tolfree and those kinds. So a rare honor for a player of Cam's caliber in that week.
Yeah, a very rare honor for a Mississippi player to get, and a wonderful honor for somebody like Cam to get. She's a great kid. She works so hard. She lost 45 pounds over the summer to try to get her body in shape, and she's a completely different player this year. We've talked about that a lot. So when you sent me State Player of the Week, I said, well, she's very deserving, And then you sent me National Player of the Week, and I said, well, is this the same thing? And then I was, wait a minute, that's National Player of the Week. So I was really, really happy to get that. Really happy for her. Really happy for her team because she's not able to get that without her teammates, and she knows that, and she's the kind of kid that gives them the credit that they deserve. Cookie Wilkinson, who was an outstanding player here last year, she got it one time last season, I believe. But other than that, I don't know in my 15-year career that I've had very many players ever get National Player of the Year. And like you said, you can't go back and go, well, all these Mississippi players have gotten it. Sometimes Mississippi junior college basketball is overlooked because Texas JUCO and Kansas JUCO, they're so good and our rules are different and we're not as good. And, that's the way people view us. And that's not necessarily the case. We have deserving players. Going back to 5 players in double figures, if you can have 5 players in double figures, you're going to win basketball games. That's huge. I thought Maddie Mitchell had a really good game in this game against South Ark. Scoring is not something we necessarily ask her to do all the time, and she did a really good job of that. Amari Barnes had a really good week that week before Thanksgiving. She had 16, I believe, in the game against Eunice, and then came out again against South Arkansas and had 15. I thought that week she looked to be more aggressive, to try to score more instead of just being a passive player who stood on the three-point line and just shot it. She aggressively attacked and tried to do things to not only create for herself but also create for a team. Zaria Hatton is a kid who comes off the bench for us and brings a lot of energy. Her rebounding ability, she has a nose for the ball and she's able to go get it. And in this game, again, she rebounded really well, but she was also able to capitalize and get some points. So very proud of that. Very proud of our bench effort in that game.
Yeah, and then this past Thursday, you went to LSU Eunice. You dropped this one 73-59. The inverse was true in this one. You lost 3 of the 4 quarters, and when you do that, it's just not going to equal a winning outcome for you unless you keep them close, and maybe that quarter you win is you win it by large enough. But you look at this one, they outscored you 23-15 in the first, 17-11 in the second. You beat them 19-14 in the third. It was 19-14 their way in the fourth. So that's how you get that 73-59. But your thoughts overall on this game and just a game where it kind of felt like maybe the team was knocking off a little rust, and maybe it was one of those, hey, we hadn't played in a couple of weeks, and maybe that was just what happened here.
Yeah, again, Mississippi JUCO basketball is a unique experience because we played 7 or 8 games before the break. We take a week off for Thanksgiving, then we come back and we're scheduled to play 3 games. We had 3 games scheduled, so we were scheduled to come back the Friday after Thanksgiving and play UA Phillips on the Monday after Thanksgiving. Well, they needed to reschedule the game. They had some conference games that were coming up, so we had to reschedule that game. So now we don't have that game. We come back and we practice, 4 or 5 days before we play this game, but then we go play a really tough LSU Eunice team on a Thursday night, and we have not had a chance to knock the rust off. They had already had a game. They had knocked the rust off. So in scheduling, if I could go back and reschedule this game somewhere else, I would. I did not know it was going to be that way. In scheduling, I had it set up kind of like I wanted it, but you don't ever know. Things happen. I felt like we got punched in the mouth off the jump on this one. They came out and they hit 3. We weren't very good defensively. We weren't matched up. We didn't get where we needed to be. I had to call timeout early, and we got punched in the mouth. We did respond. I was very proud of how we responded. We closed that gap at the end of the first quarter. Same thing in the second quarter. We came out and got hit in the mouth a little bit, and we came back and responded. We cut it to as many as a 6-point deficit. And every time we would cut the deficit, we would go back on the defensive end and we would make a mistake, or we would turn it over, or we would foul. We never could get over that hump. I didn't think our guards played extremely well in this one. I went back and looked at the stat sheet, and our guards who play the majority of our minutes were 7 for 44 combined from the field. And that's a problem. That's about 16%. You can't shoot that poorly and win against a very good LSU Eunice team. It's like I told him yesterday when we watched film, either that percentage has got to be better, or you guys have got to stop shooting the ball so much and we've got to get it inside to our post. In the first game when we played LSU Eunice, all those 15-foot jumpers that our guards shot went in, and it was because we had played 8 or 10 games and we were in the flow. They didn't fall in this game because we were beating the rust off, so to speak. And so that was disappointing because I feel like if we took this game and we put it anywhere else in our schedule, it's a different game. And
you look at this one. You talked about in that South Ark game when you have 5 players in double figures, that's winning basketball, and you like your odds. This one, you only had 1 player in double figures. It's a name we talk about a lot. It was Cam Pruitt. And actually, it was a double-double for Cam, 28 and 13. 28's a new career high for her. Resets her career high that she had set against LSU Eunice at Southwest when she scored 24. So she played really well. Tyra Johnson gave you 4 points and 9 rebounds. A really good game on the boards for Tyra. Akila Hobson missed a double-double by 1 point and a board, 9 and 9 there as well, too. Amani Key was 7 points. You mentioned it. Amani and Akila were the 2 of those 3 guards. And, not to pour salt on the wound, but those were also your next 2 highest leading scorers, right. And they weren't
in double figures.
Yeah, they were 6 of 30 or 7 of 33 combined for 9 and 7. And you just look at that and you go, man, that's just a tough game. If they make half of those misses, you're probably winning that game.
Yeah, it's very difficult to win when you only have one player in double figures. Cam Pruitt was really, really good. She's really good every night when she comes out, but we have to have other people to help her. And I didn't think that our guards were terrible. I did think early in the game we took some quick, bad shots that equaled long rebounds that gave them easy opportunities. I felt like later in the game, once we settled in a little bit, we took good shots. We just couldn't complete them and we couldn't make them fall. And some of that I contribute to the break. Some of it I contribute to being on the road. Some of it is it lack of focus. Some of it is, well, I didn't make that one, and then I get down on myself, and it gets to be a mental battle. And that's something that our guards struggle with, is that mental battle of I've got to keep playing and I've got to keep shooting. Like I said, if I could reschedule this one, I'd like to. Overall, we didn't play great. They're a very good team, but hopefully we see them again down the road in the region tournament.
And speaking of rescheduling, it's a pretty good segue to what we were going to talk about. If people go and look at the schedule online, you were supposed to have played this past Saturday, had some travel issues, had an issue with bus. You're supposed to go down to Southern Shreveport. That didn't happen. The game has been postponed, looking for a potential hopeful matchup there, makeup date maybe this week. But if you don't get that one, that's kind of going to wrap up your first half of the year. You'll take a little bit longer break than what you want to. You'll come back and you'll play UA Phillips, a team that you beat on the road. But you look at the first half of the year, if you don't play again, you're 7-10. If that game goes, you could be 8-10 or 7-3. Your thoughts on where this team is and what they've accomplished so far in the first half of the season?
Well, going back to the Southern Shreveport game first, it's very disappointing that we had some travel issues. It was a tough day for myself and Coach Bolden on Saturday morning at 6:30 when the bus didn't show up. No one's fault here at Co-Lin. That was strictly on the bus company, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for our kids and his kids. And it's unfortunate because we had our schedule built to have 3 games before we went home from the break. We had to reschedule one, and now we had a bus issue, so now we're only getting 1 game. And that's very difficult because our kids are looking at me and going, well, Coach, we came back. We want to play. We played 1 game, and now we take a month off. So not very happy about that, hoping to maybe be able to reschedule that game sometime this week. I don't know if it's going to work because Southern Shreveport does not have a gym, so they have to find a place to play, and that's another challenge. That's why it was so important that we be able to go there on Saturday. Overall, I'm happy with where we are. 7-2 is a great start to the season. I would like to be 9-0. I feel like the BRCC game early in the year is one that we shouldn't have dropped. We did not play very well that night, and I go back and I look at it. In the last minute of that game, we had 4 wide open shots. We had 4 opportunities to win that game. So at least we had put ourselves in a position to win that game. But it's hard to lose home games, and that was a home game. And we lost it. Same thing with the Eunice game. It's one that I'd like to have back. It's one that I feel like we could have won. On Thursday night when we played Eunice, they were better than we were, and that's unfortunate because whatever it was, rust or whatever, we didn't shoot it well. They were better than we were. So maybe that loss I take, maybe that loss I stomach, but the BRCC game, I don't. I will tell our kids, and I have told them, your schedule was built for you to be successful in the fall. We played some teams that were good. We played some teams that were not so challenging. And so when they come back after the break, the script is going to flip. And it's going to turn into a battle every night. There will be no soft teams where, we're going to go beat them by 40. There's no more of that. Everything is going to be a battle, and every night it's going to matter because it's conference. So very happy with where we are. Happy to have 7 wins. Happy to get as many wins as we can anytime we can. Happy that some of our younger players and some of our inexperienced players have been able to get experience in games where it wasn't a 2-point game. And in games where it was, the Holmes game, the first game of the year, that was a tight game. East Central here was a tight game. LSU Eunice at Southwest, those were tight games. So we have been challenged. So I love the mix of our schedule, but I'm excited to get into conference play. I think we're going to have to mature some. I think we're going to have to handle situations a little bit better, understanding we're up to with this amount of time, or maybe we don't need to take this shot at this time. I think those are things that we're still learning, but we're continuing to get better.
All right. Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. We look forward to talking to you in 2026. Like I said, we know this will be the last time we get to talk to you as school is closing up next week. We're in exam week and all that kind of stuff. Everybody's going to get to go home after this week or after a little bit of working next week as well, too. Stick with us through the break. Coming up, we're going to have men's head coach Randy Bolden talk about how the Wolves have done in their games leading up to right now. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And joining me now, as promised, is our head men's basketball coach, Randy Bolden. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Well, I appreciate it. You having me.
And Coach, obviously, since the last time we've talked to you, you've gone 1-1 in your last couple. You dropped one on the road at Shelton State back on the Monday of Thanksgiving, and then got a big win over Bevel State this past Monday. We'll go back to that Shelton State game first. A 10-point loss, a game that was really closer than what that margin says it was. But your thoughts overall on your guys' performance in that one?
Well, I thought we competed, and I think down the stretch we gave ourselves a chance. Of course, it was a 10-point game. The final was, but we started the foul. We had the foul late, but it was a 4-point ball game with 3-4 minutes left in the game. And like I say, we had some costly turnovers and mishaps, but I thought I was pleased with our guys' effort down the stretch, and we just competed and gave ourselves a chance.
Yeah, and you look at this one, we mentioned it was a 2-point game at halftime. They were leading you 29-27 after the first half. The second half is where they kind of pulled away. It was 36-28 there. That's how you get that 65-55 line or a box score. You look at the line scores, a phenomenal game from Tyrell Bowles. He led you in scoring and rebounds, had a double-double. Again, we talk about it every week. Tyrell's either going to get you the double-double or he's going to be right there. This is one where he definitely got you the double-double. 13 and 15. 13 of his 15 rebounds came on the defensive side. He's a monster on the defensive boards. 12 from Mustafa Salik off the bench and 11 from Coy Williams. Coy also had 8 assists and 2 steals. A really great night for your starting point guard as well too. Those three kind of feel like they're the gas for the engine right now for you.
Well, absolutely, and we challenged Coy. You know, Coy's our leader. He's our point guard. We expect him to go in and get help guys that put him in position to make us better. He's been doing a good job here lately, taking care of the basketball and things of that nature. But we're challenging our bench. I think the biggest thing is we got to get more production from the bench. And Mustafa, he's been coming along and playing the way we knew that he would be playing here. 10 ball games in.
And then you go to this past Monday. Bevel State comes over here. You get a little bit of some revenge. This is a team that you lost to on the road. Your very first road game, you dropped it by 5, and you beat them 84-64. Your thoughts on how your guys were able to really kind of, this is your first game back. You hadn't played in a week. Maybe just a couple of practices in, and you were able to really knock the rust off, and you were able to play a lot of guys as well too.
Right. I think Belleville, when we went down there, I think they had a really nice crowd. They played well, and I thought that was one of our worst ball games. We left there with a bitter taste in our mouth. I thought we wasn't up to play. We didn't get our guys ready to play, and that's on me. I told the guys after the game, I said, it's my job to get you guys ready to play, and I felt like we just showed up, and we really wanted the revenge game last night. And I thought our guys came out and they competed. And I think our guys came off the bench. I go back to our bench. We're going to win as our bench go. And our guys came off the bench, and I think we had 20, 30 points off the bench. And whenever we can do that, I think we got a good chance of winning.
Yeah, you look at the box in this one. It was close in that first half, 32-25 after play. The second half was kind of the windfall, waterfall kind of moment for you. You scored 52 in the half, outscored them 52-39. That might be one of the highest scoring halves we've had all season so far. And then you look at the box score. You had 3 guys in double figures in this one, led by a name that I don't think we've said is the leading scorer much. LeBron Deal, he came off the bench, gave you 17. He was 8 of 8 from the line, 4 of 6 from the field. He also had a rebound, an assist, and a steal. Tyrell Bowles, another double-double, 15 and 10. And a guy that we talked about just a moment ago, Mustafa, got a start in this one with Caleb Crozier being out because of some illness. 16 points, 8 rebounds. That's a phenomenal stat line from Mustafa, and you're really starting to see growth out of him and growth from all your guys.
Oh, absolutely. Mustafa, he's a talented kid, and it's just a matter of him just settling in, getting comfortable with what we're doing. And as the season progresses, you're going to see him just continue to get even better. And I thought this was a great confidence game for him. I thought he was good on both ends of the floor. And his engine never stops. He plays hard all the time. And I think not only that, I think LeBron came off the bench and was a big spark for us. And we're challenging Bron to be more than just a scorer. We need him to help run the team, and I thought he did. He did well last night. I think maybe one turnover as well. So I thought our guys are growing. I think we're settling into our roles and getting comfortable playing our roles, and I think we're going to be playing our best basketball in January.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a second ago, you talked about the bench points. Just doing some quick math here, 34 points off the bench. Outside of LeBron, LeBron had about half of those, but two other guys that had big games off the bench. Dylan Craig had 7. That doesn't necessarily sound like a lot, but Dylan played some phenomenal defense. One guy that we hadn't talked a lot about, he's the only returning sophomore from last year, Zach Thompson. Zach had just 5 points, but had 2 rebounds, an assist, and a steal. That's a solid stat line for Zach, and Zach's a kid who, you and I talk about it. He's still figuring some things out. Yes, he's a sophomore. He didn't get a lot of playing time last year, but man, you can really see the things that he's learned and the growth that he's had. It's really starting to pay off for you.
Absolutely, man. And Zach is a guy that we're pushing because we need Zach to give Tyrell some minutes, a break. So we need him to come in and give us some quality minutes. And I thought last night was a step toward that and building his confidence and getting him to play hard and do the things we need him to do. And I think that this game is going to get him to going and helping us going forward to be able to have a backup 5-man to come in and give us some time to give Tyrell a break.
Yeah, you kind of seeing maybe that little 4-headed post monster starting to build, with Tyrell and Moo and Caleb, who again didn't get to play last night because he's sick. Hopefully you get him back soon, and then Zach as well too. Those 4 guys, they got a chance to be really special and do some special things in this league.
Well, I think that's a great core, and I think if we can get those guys where we can keep them fresh, subbing them in and out, and bringing that kind of production, I think that's going to help us going forward.
And you got 2 more coming up before you'll hit the break. We'll talk about both of those because, again, we won't get to talk to you until it's the new year. It'll be 2026 before we talk again. You've got a couple of games that want to qualify this question next. You've only had 2 road games, and I told Bryce Perry yesterday when we were talking before the Bevel State game, I said, man, when our guys figure out how to win on the road, I said, this team's got a chance to be very dangerous and very special. Yes. Again, folks, want to say, you've only had 2 true road games. You had 2 neutral sites. You went 1-1 there, but you've only had 2 chances on the road. You got a couple more before the break. Your first one's at Gadsden State. This is a team that you beat 88-87 here earlier in the year, and then you've got to go to Delgado this upcoming Saturday. That's a team where you get a chance to get a little bit of revenge because they won over here 74-69. What are you expecting out of both of those matches?
Well, 2 really good teams. You take Gaston; they are very athletic. They're big. When we played them, we were fortunate to get away with a win here. I don't think we played our best basketball. I think we 18, 19 turnovers. So hopefully we're getting better with that, being able to take care of the ball. And like you say, in order to be successful in this league, you got to win on the road, and we got to grow up and learn that. You got to go on this road, and you got to be able to put together 2 good halves to win a basketball game on the road.
And Coach, you look at it at the halfway point right now. You're sitting at 5-5 again. You got a couple more. You could be 7-5, 6-6, 5-7. Any of those combinations. We're hoping for the 7-5 combination. Right. But you look at it, and you look at 3 of your 5 losses. They're combined 20 points. A couple. 5-point losses, that 10-point loss to Shelton State we just talked about. You look at that and you go, man, we're just a handful of possessions away from being maybe a 2-loss team. This team kind of feels like they're better than what that 5-5 record says they are. Your thoughts on how the team has performed in the first half of the season, knowing when you come back you're going to play one game, you're going to play at Florida Coastal Prep, and then conference starts. And as we've said in the past, when the conference season starts, that's when they really all start mattering. Everything counts from there on out. But your thoughts overall on how well the team's performed?
Well, obviously you'll like to be 10-0. Don't get me wrong, but realistically, we have a young team, and I think where we are as a team, as far as our growth, understanding how we want to play, and seeing the development of our young guys to be 5-5, and with a chance to even go 7-5 before the break. I like where we are. And I tell the guys all the time, and I just tell you, Kevin, we got a really good group, man. I really enjoy coaching them. I mean, I know, you're graded by your win and losses, but being able to coach these guys, they're so hungry to learn, and they work hard at it, and they love each other and play for each other. So I like where we are, and I feel like going toward conference time, I think we're going to pick up our steam, and we're going to be a hard team to beat going into conference.
Yeah, I can tell you from my viewpoint of it, you can see the growth out of this team. You can see guys are starting to make plays. They're starting to see things. I think things are starting to slow down for some guys like LeBron and Coy, and you're seeing Moo and Tyrell. You know, things that they were trying to do layups at the start of the year. Now they're going up strong. Yeah, they may still be layups, but they're like stronger layups than what they were. They're really starting to realize, hey, when I go up for a board, I got to go strong. I got to manhandle that thing both hands. You know, squeeze it like it's a loaf of bread, and I don't want anybody else to take it from me. But a lot of good things happening for Wolves basketball. Again, they go 1-1 over the last couple of weeks. They've got 2 more at Gadsden State on Thursday, at Delgado on Saturday, and then they'll take a Christmas break, and we'll have a game again on January 7th. Coach, thanks for joining me as always. It'll be 2026 before we see you again, because that'll wrap up this week's edition of the Co-Lin Coaches Show. That'll also wrap up this semester's edition of the Coaches Show. No show next week, as school will be out. It's exam week this week. Kids are gone. We'll all be gone after next week as well, too. Until 2026, I'm Kevin Kyzar, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you then.